Glass Pop Media.
So a lot of people are complaining lately, or just have a random opinion on what's going on in the MCU, what's going on in television, what's going on with some of our beloved IPs. It seems like several characters are being gender swapped, race swapped, sexual preference swapped, and the question comes up, is this appropriate? These are characters that have been all around for a long time, and I love them. Why should someone come along and change them? And you can see heated arguments on both sides. I mean, take Superman, for example. Here's a character that was originally modeled after Jesus Christ. He's an alien who comes down from Krypton and does amazing things on Earth. Sure, he's also a white, Captain America trope that DC brought out, but he's a character that at the end of the day, I think a lot of people would aspire to. He's supposed to show what humanity can become. So the current trend in comics now is that I guess he has a son that's bisexual. And a lot of people are wondering, well, why did you have to do that? Take the new show Velma, where they take characters from Scooby-Doo, and now they've, again, race swapped different characters. Now, are they updating it for a new audience? Are they trying to get people who don't usually watch it involved? Or are they following a Hollywood agenda that's pushing woke politics and social commentary and try to make everyone feel empowered or unempowered, depending on where you are, who you are, what your sexual orientation is, your color, your sex, yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, these are fictional characters, so in some ways it shouldn't really matter. But the question I have is when you're changing Iron Man into black female Ironheart, or you're changing Captain America into a black man, what would happen if you changed Fat Albert into a white guy? Or if you changed, I don't know, Black Panther into a white guy? Could he wear the vibranium suit? I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I know that I'm impartial to the characters that I grew up with, but I also know that the way to do it is with a really good story or a really good characterization on why it should happen that way. And the problem with today's movies is that's not what they're doing. They shoehorn in identity politics, basically for no reason. If you watch the newest Doctor Strange movie, the young girl who comes in and can open up portals just happens to have two biological mothers from a perfect planet. Why was that even needed to be said? To go back to the Velma situation with Scooby-Doo. It was always thought of that maybe Velma was gay because she had a certain characteristic in the show. It was never expressly said either way. Isn't it better to leave some of these things open? And why should sexuality be talked about with our superheroes or with our cartoons? It's not like straight people have that conversation in movies from the 80s or the 90s. It was never a driving force. Now, you might have made an assumption, but isn't that what this is about? Making your brain think of other things and seeing how they relate to you? At the end of the day, it wasn't their sexuality that mattered. It was hopefully that our superheroes were projecting a certain type of ideal that we should try to implement into our lives to make ourselves better. Now, these characters also would have flaws that they had to overcome. In a story, that's called a character arc. But today, you look at Star Wars, you look at Star Trek Discovery, all of a sudden, you've got what are considered Mary Sue characters, gender-swapped characters, females, that do everything perfect and don't have to overcome anything. Take Star Wars, for example. You have this character of Rey. Well, when we see her meet Han Solo in The Last Jedi, well, she's only been on the Millennium Falcon for an entire 2 hours, but she already knows it better, can fix it better, can fly it better than Han Solo, who's been putting it together with aluminum foil, duct tape, and bubble gum for his entire life. Did I mention that they also made him a really bad father as well? Why do they need to deconstruct all the characters we love and have come to appreciate just to raise another one up? And in the original hero's journey, someone would have to come by and teach that person something that they didn't have. That is your character arc. That's where they'd come around. So what am I getting at? Everything is just screwed up and everyone has an opinion. But what I find interesting is the same people who argue for these situations and changing these roles are the same ones who have a problem with cultural appropriation. So why is it okay to change out a character we love But, I don't know, a white guy can't listen to hip hop. Does that seem right?
There were days where we thought we wouldn't make it out, but we stuck it out. Today's our day. Today's our day. There were nights we would fight, no end in sight, nothing was right. Tonight's our night. Tonight's our night. Fight for you until this life is over. There's no giving up here.
Absolutely not. At the end of the day, we're all learning from each other, and we're all trying to be better, and we're all trying to basically express the thing we love about each other, the things we aspire to, and the things we don't want to do. And if it's in our stories, it should be for a reason. It shouldn't just be because someone needs representation, or this person doesn't get seen enough, or the view of this particular person is looked at negatively by Hollywood. Now, there's a caveat to that. I can tell you, as you can see, I just happen to be a white male. And recently there's been a lot of changes on sitcoms and also commercials, where it just seems like continually strong white characters, or strong male characters even more specifically, are being cucked. They're being lowered to elevate a female character or a racial character. Now, is there a reason for that? There could be. Representation is a big argument that we get all the time. But I can tell you, when I'm sitting in that position, I'm feeling underappreciated, I'm feeling left out. Now, here's the interesting thing. As this is happening, and I'm going, what the fuck is going on? Excuse my language. Something else dawned on me. In the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, most characters in movies that were for African American actors were gangsters, or put in a position of being, I don't know, lower class. So could you make the argument that the way I feel right now, feeling degraded in commercials and sitcoms, is the same picture that Hollywood was painting back then? And by that rationale, obviously both are wrong. That should have never happened. So is this course correction now? And do you course correct by bringing one set of person down to raise another? At the end of the day, we don't really need to commentate on these things. The character of a person, their humor, their intelligence, their strengths, and their flaws need to be showcased, because if you don't get over your flaws and aspire to something else, then you're not really telling a human story. And these stories are important. And I'll take it a step further. For all of you out there that say, no, you shouldn't change any of these things and that they should stay true to the way they were, a shower thought I had was, what about the Bible? I don't know how many of you out there are religious. I'm not overly religious, but you've got the Old Testament, you've got the New Testament. You have a text that has been rewritten and edited so many times. You have no way of knowing what the original was, what it should be now, what it shouldn't be later. But in a lot of ways, it kind of looks like Star Wars. You take your original movie where you had characters that were built up, and then later, through the years, and I'm only talking about a 30 or 40 year difference, let alone biblical time differences. Tell me how the Old Testament and the New Testament don't look exactly like the original Star Wars and the new Star Wars. You've got a character named Jesus who came around and literally walks on water and does nothing wrong. Is that not very much like Rey? What is the Star Wars story or any of these other IP story going to be in another 10, 20, 100, 300 years from now? Are they going to look back then and see a tapestry that tells a bigger story and is hopefully talked about, but also loved as much as the Bible? Or is this all going to fall apart and we're going to realize that Hollywood's been screwing up? Please comment. Tell me what you think. Because I'm only throwing these out there because I don't know. I know partially how I feel about some things, but at the end of the day, this is a discussion we need to have, and there's answers in pop culture. So that's it. I'm done. Stick a fork in me. I got to go see a man about a dog.